1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, what's up? I'm Mike Squires. This is Couch Riffs podcast episode number 143. My guest, Burke Thomas. Burke Thomas is a bandmate of mine in an inactive band, but a bandmate nevertheless. And a wonderful drummer, great musician, songwriter, singer, recordist, engineer. Burke kind of does it all. He really does it all. He's got a music school called Loud House, and a podcast of his own called Drum Recovery Network, which he started doing this year as he sort of worked through the physical and sort of non-physical aftermath of an accident where he was injured really horribly. So, and he continues to play through that, talk to folks about different health aspects of their schedule, their lifestyle. Great. And he's got a bunch of killer guests on his podcast. Straight out of the gate. Look at, you see that down there, little Mr. Big? Look at that little guy. Look at him down there. That's what he does. He looks like he's talking to me sometimes. Anyway, he makes more sense than I do a lot of times. I had a great time talking with Burke. I'm really, really happy that he made it through that accident, and glad that I can talk to him ever. So thank you, Burke. Thanks for being around. Thanks for making it. Keep on making it. I hope you enjoy this as much as I did, because I loved it. If you are enjoying the Couch Riffs podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/couchriffs. Go visit couchriffs.com. You can find all the podcasts and all of our videos. Patreon.com is the only place where you can download the audio from the cover songs we did. Burke recently appeared on Somebody's Baby Tonight, originally recorded by Jackson Brown. Had a bunch of great guests on that one. Also, thank you so much to... Oh, hello, Mr. Big. Thank you so much to our friends at River City Guitars. Mr. Big, it's Mr. Big, goddamn. Mr. Big, our friends at River City Guitars, take care of folks. That's what they do. They love community and guitars and vintage gear and vintage cars and vintage drums, and they love vintage stuff, cool stuff, boutique-y stuff. So follow them at River City Guitars on your social media platforms, whatever your favorite platform is. And what are you doing, Mr. Big? And a lot of times as things come in to the shop, they go up on social media. They get sold so fast they don't make it to the website. But go to rivercityguitars.com anyhow, because it's cool. Is it cool? It's cool. If you have something that you want to sell, you want to commission, if you want to sell something, you want to get a little scratch in your pocket, it's just collecting dust in your closet or hanging on your wall, it should be getting played. Give them a call, 509-818. Mr. Big, what are you doing? 7693. My buddy Bobby, he'll take care of you over there. Tell him Squire sent you. And he will. He'll take care of you. He's great. I love Bobby. Or drop him an email, sales.rivercityguitars@gmail.com. You can include a photo of what you're trying to move, and maybe they'll be able to give you an idea of what you're looking at there. Thank you so much to River City Guitars. They've been a huge support to the podcast from the very beginning, and we love you. Other than that, don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't be an asshole. It's not that hard to not be an asshole. Yeah, buddy. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, nice. Nice and loud.
Is it real loud?
You sound intimate. I sound like I don't know.
That's just the sensuality that's built into my voice. Yeah.
You've really worked on it.
Speaking of sensuous, you're rocking a hat which I've never seen.
I'm feeling it today. I just got
It's
doing chicken work in tending to the crops.
you've been you've been out doing chicken work.
They're not doing much work. I'm doing all the work.
How are you, man?
Lazy chicks. I'm good.
I'm real happy to see you.
Yeah. You finally. What episode is this?
Our episode will be like episode 143, I think.
Well, you finally made it. You're at the top of the mountain now.
Well, I don't know which mountain. I mean, the thing is, it's a range, isn't it? So you get to the top of one and you're like, well, fuck, I got to go down and then back up the next one.
This is all you need, Mr. Personality. That's all you need.
Hopefully you can follow the ridge, follow the ridge line and you don't have to hit too many valleys.
What have I entered into a guitar museum here?
Oh, this is the champagne room. I mean, if I just turn my computer screen this way, you would see a host of other funny things. But, behind me is a cabinet that I have to store a bunch of crazy stuff that I found on Craigslist.
Yeah.
I'm having a pedal board built so I can sort of put my gang of pedals on display up on top of there, and then I can scroll up a little bit.
Squeeze it all into this frame if you can. Just vertically, however you can.
Yeah.
Just all in there.
It's tight.
Clickbait.
I want action.
More colors.
But yeah, I got a lot of black guitars, one pink guitar, or I think it's pink. I think someone told me it was fuchsia once.
It's pretty.
Yeah, no,
I think it's more of a fuchsia.
Isn't that pretty?
It looks loud.
It is, man. It is. And then a silver sparkle back there, but all the rest of them, they're black. But this is where I do whatever I'm doing.
I was listening to your Jeff Schroeder.
Oh yeah.
I finally caught that one the other day. Just because when I auditioned for Smashing Pumpkins years ago, he didn't say a word. So to hear him be kind of like a motor mouth was like, oh my God, this guy is really cool. He's he's a sense of humor. He's a crazy personality. Yeah. This is awesome. And then when you guys went down the guitar portal, I'm a songwriter, I can do stuff, but you guys went deep into guitars and I was like, wow, yeah, this is the niche. This is what guitar players want to hear.
That was the first time I'd ever had a conversation with him. So I was also like, I had no idea. And it was great. I really had a great time talking with him. It's always funny. Here's the thing. And you have a podcast and you never know what's going to happen. Because generally speaking, unless it's like someone like yourself who, I'm in a band with, but if you have a guest that you've never spoken to, which is what I try to do, I try to not talk to them. If I communicate to schedule, I don't want to talk on the phone to schedule. I want to text or email. And then I want it to vibe like we're meeting at a party.
Fresh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
I don't want to get to know each other while we're scheduling, none of that. I want it.
Yeah. I've had a couple management companies go can you lay out the questions first, please? Some really heavy hitters, some worked out, some didn't, and I was like, I guess, okay, I'll do that, and then I think that the questions I laid out, since they didn't show up, were those were dumb questions,
Right.
they're screening, it's no, I want it get to know me, get to know how much I love you,
Sometimes for me, it has fallen flat, unfortunately, which is a drag, but also that's it's a little bit of a high wire. It's not, there's no script. I don't have notes about anyone. I don't have any questions planned.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's great, and if you have a really talkative guest, right?
Oh God, yes. We've had those. You push play and they'll just they have their own script. They just
That's-
take off.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That's great. Unless that's what they do. They say tell the same stories to everyone.
And they do.
That's what I don't want, you know.
Yeah. But it's okay. It's okay. They spent the time with you. I've had ones that I've researched, you know, and then I see their motivational speaking routine, and then now they're doing it to me. But I don't care. Like they're still taking time, you know.
Right. No, it's great.
You're a hero of mine, so it's all good.
So, I know what, you know, mostly what's what, but will you talk about how it is you came to start doing Drum Recovery Network, your podcast?
Yeah. So, well, post accident, I was playing with Roger Fisher of Heart and his brother Michael, the Magic Man. They're getting together the band again to go do a tour.
Wait a minute, you put your fingers like this and said the Magic Man. Is he the guy that the song was written about?
Yeah.
Really?
Brother Michael. Yeah, that's the Magic Man. The song was written about Michael. Yeah.
Really?
So when I show up at this private rehearsal space in Carnation that's surrounded by Christmas trees, the first guy to greet me when I'm like lugging drum stuff out was Magic Man. And first Roger said it, and then Michael said, they were like, "Oh wow, you're a real dude," you know. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a real dude. Like, I'm not sure what you're used to. Like, they're doing research on like where I've played before or something." And it was like, I can right away I knew I was going to be too loud.
Right.
They did some research. Anyway, it's like, oh yeah, that's the guy, because I've seen the VH1 Behind the Stuff. Yeah, you know, I've seen all that, and I've been a huge Heart fan since high school or whatever, just obsessing over DeRozier and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So everyone else has a Heart cover band in Seattle. There's 20 cover bands, and then Roger was like, I'm going to do my own band because I wrote the stuff, and we're going to make some money or whatever, you know. But it was his birthday show. Anyway, we rehearsed for months, and we did 2 shows, and like driving home, I rolled my car, got ejected. So last year was all about, this didn't happen, there's nothing to see here. Jump back on stage. Like 2 weeks out of the hospital, I was playing a show with a Tower of Power cover band, and Tavis LeMay brought all my drums up on stage and set it up and tuned it, and I like walked up on stage with a cane, and he stayed there with his daughter the whole time. And it was like Leanne, you know, my wife, she was in the crowd like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I don't know. Like, she's usually very, she has as much an ego about my drumming as I do, you know, but she was like, oh, I don't know, this is a 2-hour show. So, you know, a few songs in, it worked out. But my head did start to lean back when I was playing, like about an hour and a half in. My core was shot, and I can't feel my hands and my feet. But my pride was like, go, 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 go. So
what I know about you is that you were a person who will power through anything, even if you're conscious of the fact that once you're done with whatever that task is, you're going to figure out how to fix it so that it's better in the future. You're a pretty stubborn guy. You'll force your way through any physical hurdle.
I don't think I've done one Loaded tour where I didn't have a torn something,
right?
But that wasn't made known to everyone, you know. But I'm not going to pass this chance up, you know what I'm saying? Right. I remember a couple of times walking through airports where I was really lagging behind. It's like, I don't want to make this too obvious,
right?
But yeah, so just nothing to see here in powering through play shows. I got a couple other gigs, and they weren't like aggressive. Like you got to really throw down and show all your stuff. It was very mellow, very chops oriented. It made me play differently. I had to listen to the band for once, and you know, it was cool because it made me play differently. But you know, after a while, I kind of caught up to my body. I was like, man, I really wish I had that back. The thing that I used to do when I was 13. You know, so I'm having to reteach myself through nerve damage and stuff like that, reteach myself stuff. And I'm just going outside the box, trying to do different kinds of therapy to get that strength back. But, and then I think briefly I talked to you a little bit about like how the hospital meds kind of got a control of me or whatever. And then I went down to LA to fix some things. And this year, so that was about distraction last year and just I'm normal. And this year is about I'm not normal. I really want to tackle this thing. Just a healthier way of life.
If it makes you feel any better, Burke, I've never considered you to be normal.
No.
And I just want to welcome you to this year. I want to be the first to welcome you to this year.
Yeah, it's just like 2021 is going to be so much different, you know. Oh, Burke's totally normal now. Yeah. No, that's cool. I'll be leading the charge on that one. You know, I'm not a people person, you know, like.
I don't think you're not a people person. Hey, will you talk about the injuries you sustained so that people have an idea of like they'll have some context to understand what you're talking about, what you worked through, because it's pretty substantial.
Yeah, so everyone wear your seatbelt. I wasn't wearing my seatbelt right after a snowstorm in switchbacks in the mountains of Seattle where I live.
Normal people do that.
At high speeds. Yeah, normal people do that. And you know what? Everything leading up to that was so normal. I like went to the grocery store. I was feeling good after the Roger Fisher show, like the regular post-show thing. Everything was happy. This is going to be great. I went to the gas tank, got some gas, and then launched through the driver's side window. So concussion, 5 broken ribs. My right groin area is pretty torn up, and then I had C6 spinal cord surgery. So I was paralyzed for about 2 or 3 days. Like I was in the road on my back, and they're like, "Can you move something?" And it was this. No. So it was pretty scary. And I remember telling myself while I was on my back, like, "This, get up. This didn't happen. Get up. This didn't happen." And then quick, the first person on the scene happened to be a working nurse at Valley Medical Center. You know, this is 2:30 in the morning.
That's pretty incredible.
But I didn't find out her identity until a year later after some research. So we've since reunited, but she knew how to keep my neck straight or in the proper position, and she knew the proper calls to make to the emergency room and what I exactly needed.
Wow.
Yeah, so that part was a miracle. And then meanwhile, there's cops said they had such a hard time because people just rushing by the scene, cheering, like illegally going around flares and stuff like that. And she was all pissed off. But so yeah, I was paralyzed for about 2 days at Harborview. And then they come in and they start doing the pinpricks, like, can you feel this on your finger and on the toes? And sometime around there, Tavis showed up. I was in ICU. Oh, they spent 2 hours picking glass out of my face. And Leanne was up close to watch that. That was not one of her biggest highlights of her life. But she's actually, she knows more details about those early times than I do.
Right. Yeah. I imagine you were just sort of like pretty out of it.
Do-over. Can we do a do-over?
Right.
Yeah.
Those first few days when you were in the hospital, I mean, how immediately did you have spinal surgery?
That was not immediate, and it went through several stages, and it all had to do with money and if I qualified for this or that.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I'd probably say 10 days before the decision was made or before it was green lighted through the hospital and insurance, whatnot.
So let me get this straight. There's a potential that you would not be able to get this surgery just based on finances.
Yes, and gosh, I guess we'll.
And the surgery is something that, and it like enabled you to walk again.
Maybe. There was a point where they said, if we did this kind of surgery, there could be this kind of outcome, or you could not do the surgery at all and see what happens. And initially we said no, because there could be fatal or consequences or more damage done with this kind of, it's called lamnoplasty, where they basically cut a door into your neck, open it up, put in like titanium rings. I have 3 titanium rings in my neck, and then close it up, and I'm learning more and more. But it's the spinal cord is still like an undiscovered situation as far as these major injuries. But so you can imagine I've been like kind of obsessed because I want to be normal, and I'm like tackling every angle to try to figure out, hey, what button can I press to get back to where I was?
Right.
But eventually we just said, yeah, let's do it, and went in and do it. Sister came up, and then I was super scared to because I had the neck brace on the whole time, and not at Harborview. I was in there for 30 days. I was so scared to take that neck brace off after surgery.
Right.
But it eventually, whatever. But I will say the ketamine thing as a side, humorous thing, I is incredible. There's a joke there's like a 5-minute joke I tell. I think it's still posted on my recovery page that once they rolled me out of surgery, I was like inviting nurses into my room for a barbecue, and I was telling this weird joke that I stole off of Mad Men about donkey dicks and weird shit. And I never talk like that in front of my sister or whatever, and I was cracking her up. Anyway, fast forward, like as soon I was able to like sit up in a bed, I had an electronic drum kit delivered by a friend of mine to the ICU room, and the doctor wasn't happy about that, and he said you have to wait to the 4th floor, which is the physical therapy area. So I mean the drumming actually started in the hospital before I was even discharged. And I basically just stared at the drum kit even though I couldn't move, watching that terrible Star Wars movie Solo like 30 times in a row, just looking at.
You didn't like it?
Drum kit. Solo? Come on. You have to remember I am a gigantic Star Wars nerd, but that was a poor effort.
I mean, it was I don't know what the other one was. What was the other one called?
There was the Rogue.
Rogue One was great. I thought that was fucking great in the end.
Yeah. I just don't want to see Chewie and Han like sipping drinks at a bar and I don't know. There's some really.
That's how we met them, though. In episode 4.
Chewie wasn't drinking. He was just in there. He was just kind of he was security.
Speaking of Chewie, I love the Chewbacca bikini comment that someone made about that dude with the hairy horn helmet. Someone also called him the QAnon shaman.
That's their flag now. Thank God.
So incredible. Anyway, I digress. So you're staring at this drum kit while you're laying in bed. I know that, knowing you, I know that that's fucking killing you. You're just like, did you ever get up and sneak yourself over there when you knew no one was going to come in?
The first time it was supervised. There was nurses in there, and I used a trash can in the room. I asked Leanne to bring a drum pedal in for me. So I used a trash can. I leaned off my hospital bed. I used a trash can as the bass drum, and notebooks or a hospital desk is like a hi-hat or something. And then she was rapping over the top of what I was playing. So that was like stage 1. And it was that moment that I was like, okay, my arms can function. Even now, like my brain can do everything I did before. It's just communicating it electrically through my body to get it to go on time, to get it to flash. But that was a big moment for me, because now I know once I do get over to that electronic drum kit, that I'll be able to pull some stuff off in a couple weeks or whatever.
Right.
But the hospital was weird. I'd go through phases of like, yeah, I want to see a bunch of people, and then like, no, I don't want to see anyone for weeks. Like I'd go through these like dips.
Right.
But I did get a lot of love, and I appreciate everyone, all the Loaded love and the Vendetta Red love, and the school that I worked at before. There was a lot of parents who came over, and the Loud House people, and everyone came out of the woodwork to like support, and that was very. I was blown away. You know, because when you're an isolated person who doesn't like to talk to people, you're like, oh, I don't even exist, or whatever. And then like everyone was like showering me.
There's nowhere to
It was
hide.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So, and it gave me a lot of energy. And the Nordstrom family, I know you had him on recently, like Pete and Brandy, like they were crucial. Eric Hawk, crucial in my recovery, and getting out of there. And so I do appreciate. Thank you to everyone who showed up at the hospital and spent physical time there or financial help. I will never forget that. And your support. You know, yeah, I know you're a long distance, but every time you reached out, it really helped out a lot. So thanks for that.
Well, fucking hell, I love you, Burke Thomas. Come on.
Yeah. Let's bring this back up. Let's talk about
yeah, man. So
cool, weird stuff.
Well, listen. So when you get out of the hospital, do you go straight to the drum kit? You're just like, you just got on it and started.
So, okay, I'm in a hospital bed, and I already know the tour dates for this Roger Fisher thing, and they call up. They come to the hospital, the brothers, and they're like, check on me, even though they have a show to play that day, and they're going to do it acoustically because they have no drummer. Hey, how are you doing? You know, and then they call me a couple weeks later, and they're like, look, we got to do these shows, and we're going to use this guy. And I was like, no one replaces me. What are you talking about? I didn't cancel any shows. You canceled the shows. I'll be there. You know, I'm getting... One, I was like all hopped up on drugs, and the other one, my ego is out of control. And it's like, I don't want to miss the show, you know. It's like I'm trying to figure out, okay, I've got 3 weeks to get out of the hospital. I only need to do this little fancy thing and that little fancy thing. And they're like, dude, we love you. Like, don't worry about it, you know. It's like, I didn't. So that was the first thing. My drive was like out of control.
Right.
But during that, I substitute for Ben Smith when he plays in this band, Dr. Funk, which is basically a Tower of Power cover band. I've been doing that for a few years when he has to do other stuff. And
what a fun gig.
Yeah. I mean, and he's like, I would definitely say he's one of my mentors because he's hooked me up with a few gigs.
And he's great.
Yeah, just super tasty, sneaky, tricky fill stuff, and like rock solid and dependable, super smart, loving, you know. But I started communicating with those guys because they had a show coming up, and he actually came to the hospital, and he brought me like pad thai, and he was like, I think there's a couple shows coming up which I can't make. I'm still in bed. He's like, do you think you can do those in a couple weeks? Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I can do those. I can do those. I had to do one rehearsal after I got out of the hospital, and the other guys were like, okay, yeah, we can do this. So I really just wanted to start playing right away. I wanted to ignore any other kind of like real reality of the injuries and stuff like that. And, you know, if it sucked, we wouldn't have done the gig, so it was close enough.
Do you think that looking back now that there's some time between that for, you know, the accident and that first gig and now, do you think that doing the first gig was the right thing in the big picture? Like in the moment, you needed it probably more than anything, right?
Yes. I mean, I guess if there was like 200 bloggers there saying, oh my God, he sucked, he should never play again or something. But it was like, it was a tucked away gig, and I think it was a perfect kind of situation where I could like test myself, like how bad is this? And it was a 2-hour show, and they were having monitor issues. So halfway through, there was an hour delay. And
oh,
I was
really?
waiting backstage. Yeah, I was down in Columbia City.
Nice.
So with the way nerves work is you kind of need a running start. Like in the morning, I need a little time. I need the coffee. I need to walk the dogs. I need to do some business, and then sometime in the afternoon, I'm feeling kind of normal.
Right.
There's a ramp up. So that kind of like hesitation in the middle of a show that requires extreme dynamics and confidence, and 8-minute solos and stuff like that where you have to be rock solid. It was probably not
Did
the
you
best
take a
thing.
solo that night?
No, I'm saying, but they're all A-list horn shredders.
Right.
So
Yeah. Okay.
the way the funk Tower of Power stuff works, you know, they love to extend the show and extend the song. So it's all like you got to pay attention, like how far is this going? I take a lot of cues from the bass player Jimmy Cliff, who used to play with Richard Marx. He was like the dude in all the videos, in the Richard Marx videos.
Rad.
Yeah. When I'm kind of like lost at the 30-second bar of whatever solo, I kind of look over to him, and he gives me little cues like, not yet. We're not going back home yet. Next time around.
I have not met many soloists who don't mind extending the solo.
Yeah. But I mean, I kind of get lost. They're such good players. I'm like listening, you know, which I don't do in any other band. I do in Loaded, but like any other band before that, where I'm like, I'm the star of the show. I'm the star. I'm the loudest lead drummer. But in this one, I really have to, because I'll hear about it. You know, if I'm doing something, you're pushing too hard, or you're too loud, or you need to lay back, or whatever. But they're so good. They're in Jazz Alley every weekend, or they're touring in France, or
right.
A-listers. So I'm like, and then I'll look over to the bass player, who's a self-taught guy, but he's been in the business and has platinum records and stuff. And we have a good communication that way. He was also in that Roger Fisher band with me.
Oh, rad.
Yeah.
So looking back, was that a good choice? Like, how did you feel walking away from that gig?
Drunk.
Right.
No. Yeah, that was really it. I was pretty practical. I was like, I wish we didn't have that break in between, because I did teeter off when I was playing. You know, we're doing like, we usually end up with like longer, faster Tower of Power stuff, and my head started leaning back. And this is stuff I'm not used to. My head literally, and the other players could see that, and because I have like zero core. There's so much atrophy, I had to give up on my left hi-hat pedal. I had to sacrifice that just to leverage myself so I could play upright.
Wow.
So it was extra. I couldn't like really concentrate on playing perfectly as much as staying upright, and it kept happening. And I think Tavis saw it, and definitely Leanne saw it. She's like, oh. So 2-hour show, I cut it off. I like cut it off at an hour and a half. I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Without the break, I could have made it, but I still think I needed that show, you know. And then I did several shows after that, which were much better, which was same kind of. I didn't have to go crazy. I didn't have to like get bang over or anything like that. I didn't have to do 64th note triplets or anything. It's very, very groove oriented. It taught myself how to play differently, how to be in the pocket, very my style, you know. And I got trust from other players around the area who are more into soul and more into funk and softer stuff.
Right.
And everyone should play a different style as much as they can. You can't, you know.
I think so. I think so.
That's why you're so well-rounded.
I mean, I just everything I do is a fake.
Fake it till you make it.
That's everything, even the stuff that people think is what my main stuff is. That's a fake.
I think one of my favorite solos of yours was the ultimate fake. Was in Argentina when they tuned your guitar wrong, like one of the first or second songs, and you were just shredding in a style or in an area of the guitar that you weren't used to, but it sounded amazing. I was so proud of that. You told me about that later.
No idea. Perhaps
that sound crew, let me say, was magical, both before the show and during. They were magical. Everyone wanted to be the boss.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of fun. It's a fucking miracle that shows get pulled off sometimes. Like those sorts of festivals, especially like, you wouldn't think it, but like Italy is a place that's just notorious, like fiercely unorganized, just very relaxed. Also Spain.
Yeah.
They just kind of do things how they want. Yeah, you know. Hey, what time do we start? Yeah,
After lunch.
yeah, yeah, exactly. After lunch. When's lunch? Later.
Yeah, that'll be
So
like the Costa Rica experience.
yeah, no shit. No shit. Uh has this year been, I mean, I know that this year has been brutal. You have a school. Are you is that still, are you still able to do anything online with the school?
It's cut down considerably. There's a lot of fear out there,
Yeah.
but the hardcore parents, we're doing it Zoom and Skype, and there are a couple who still physically come over, which is great. And the more of that, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And it's just, it runs the gamut. Like some people just, they want to work on their album. They want to write their new songs. They work on the album. Some of them are day one drummers. Some of them, like 80% of anyone who walked in the door in that other school I worked at, they don't know what they want. Their
Right.
parents handed them a guitar at Christmas, and they don't really like music, but they're trying to figure it out.
Right.
But somehow, yeah, I'm getting by a little bit. Not like it was, but
Do
you
you
got to
think
be
that this
creative.
year has been good for you, just in because it's forced a different kind of a slowdown so that you can actually do some proper recovery?
I think so. I wish it was a little bit more of a mix. I am able to spend a lot of time. Like, there's so many different kinds of things. I've been trying electrical stuff. I've been trying injections. I've been trying this stuff called blood restriction, where you tie electronic tourniquets around your legs and do weight training.
Whoa, 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 whoa. You know, a lot of people go out that way. Be careful.
I've been close, and I'm like, keep going. And then they wake me up 10 minutes later. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to spend that much time doing that if I was like gigging or teaching more. It's just like you and me and the rest of our friends, we wish there was a few more shows, to keep us, to get to scratch that itch,
Right.
so we could get in there. We're promoting a show, or we want to get together with our buddies and jam, and we want to feel that energy in a room. It's really been lacking. So I mean, I've pretty much had enough of the isolation thing, and the being in a vacuum trying to do a music business or whatever. And that's actually when I pour more time into my therapy, is like when the music stuff is like getting lessened. But that's so when the channel popped up, that was like, all right, I'm sick of feeling sorry for myself. I'm sick of leaning up against a wall every time I get out of bed every morning. It feels like there's a teenager around each leg and a toddler around my neck, and then like, now go about your day. That's like the weight I pull around.
Right.
What else can I do? So I was like, well, what made me want to play music in the first place? So I had to go way back, and that's when I got I don't know how it came about, but that's when I got the idea from the channel. And it's like, I'm gonna go for number one. What made me fall in love, besides the Beatles, what made me fall in love with rock and roll was the first Pretenders album. And I'm just gonna get a hold of this guy, and I'm gonna talk to him. So I went through however many channels to try to get to this guy, and that was my very first interview. And I was like, what? Like, so you say like you don't set up questions. Like, I had to map everything out, because I could write this guy's book a few times. I was so obsessed with this Martin Chambers. I was so obsessed with this guy. Posters all over my walls. And once he accepted, I was just like, oh God. And it was terrible, because I don't speak well with people, and I'm trying to learn how to do that. And I had this outline of questions, and my weakest thing was, I could tell he was starting to get into a conversation, but I was so conscious of his time that I would rush the questions. So I would always jump ahead, and I could tell he wanted to stay on the subject longer, and I kept doing that. And like, looking back, I only asked for 10 minutes, and he gave me an hour and a half. So I had to split it up into 2 parts. But I think he was taken back by, wow, you knew about that, detail. Like, I kept coming up with this really weird stuff, and
Like, is it the podcast or some sort of
I kept assuring him that I wasn't like following him around or anything like that. It was just like a chance I took, you know. But it was a chance I took. But I could tell your life story if you wanted me to, you know. So if you never need an editor in your book, you know, let me know. But once I got the second guest, who was also gigantic, I forget, it was like Chris from Talking Heads or someone huge like that. Then I was like, well, now I have something. Now I have to do something with this. Like, I have content that's almost untouchable as far as I'm concerned. I have to put it into something. And initially I was thinking, how can I make money off this? You know, not like that, but like I'm putting so much time into it. I'm teaching myself iMovie. I'm teaching myself editing. I'm teaching myself proper mic levels and how to talk to managers and all the stuff I hate to do. Can I monetize this? And it turned out that I'm terrible at that. And so then it just turned into a mission.
Join the club.
It just turned into a mission. Like, I want to get myself out of the darkness. I want to put positive energy out there. We'll talk about, maybe you've been in some injuries on the road. Maybe you have to deal with stuff in the studio. I've had to do that. Health change. Maybe you're coming out of recovery, whatever it is. So that's always added into each interview. And they're always very, you know, honest about that stuff. So that's kind of that's the niche. It's like, here are my heroes that made me want to play in the first place. And here's my situation. Have you ever come across something like this that you'd have to deal with before? And I mean, so far it's been going pretty good. I'm like batting like 1,000 on, because I don't send a mass of stuff out there. I'm very specific. Like, there's other people I could probably, you know, this is what I'm doing, but it's really only the people who impacted me. And that's probably why I'll never be able to make money off of it, because it's a limited list, and I'm almost out. There's like 3 where I've been going after for like a year, going, and you know, I'll keep riding that. But so that's how that emerged. And I do know that as an introvert, I have been getting better towards the end, which is good. You don't want to get worse.
I probably have gotten a lot worse. Here's the thing. I don't think that it's, you know, certainly not premature if once you're putting in the kind of time. Like, I have a full-time job plus this with the videos and the 2 podcasts a week, and it's like having 2 full-time jobs. I probably I put in 30 hours a week to Couch Riffs. And so I think to imagine trying to find a way to monetize it so that you can focus more time on it, you know, because that's the only way that you're actually capable of giving it more time, is if you can slowly phase out the other requirements in your life that generate money, right?
Actually, you know, I'm a sports guy, so I listen to my Raiders this and Raiders that and Lakers this and Lakers that, and I watch how they do their podcasts, and the way they make money is just so slick and so amazing. And they're with the super chat and comment me here and DM me here and drop money and money, and it's like it's pretty cool. I got to respect the way they do it. It comes across to me as like annoying. I can listen to it for like 10 or 15 minutes because I'm not getting the content out of it. They're basically like a shouting advertisement, you know, with the Raider logo. Somewhere in between, I think it's the sweet spot.
Do you find that being a Gen X guy, like a 90s, you were a 20-something in the 90s, and there was like, even if you were motivated and driven, it was not a good look. That wasn't like the look. You didn't have that patch on your jacket, right? Like, I'm a go-getter and I'm gonna make it. Everyone was like, I'm just doing my thing, man.
Yeah.
And to try and to ask for money and to do this and that is a much more it's like a young person's thing. Like, the young people have no problem doing that. That's been a hurdle for me. Is that a thing?
Branding. Everyone wants to brand themselves, you know, which
right.
is understandable.
I get it.
A lot of work. I just, you know, you would hope that the content would like speak for itself, but it doesn't. You gotta shout
Well, what are you gonna
rooftops
do?
24/7. You know.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I mean, you've had just amazing dudes on your show. You know.
I got Burke Thomas right now.
That's what I'm saying at the start. You reach the mountaintop.
You know what I
You're
mean?
here finally.
This is
You're
the this is the very
you're the
top
Rogan,
of
the
Vesuvius.
Rogan of metal.
The top of Vesuvius. Is that the one? Is that the one that explodes?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Or Pinatubo, as, as I know my wife saying that in the Philippines. Mount Pinatubo. That's what an Orange County guy says. How it pronounces Filipino. Pinatubo.
In the process of doing your podcast, I know that your first few I was blown away. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck is Burke doing this? And you were like, just reach out to the manager. I was like, huh. And I took that to heart. I was like, okay, this is what I can do. I mean, I got Mick Mars's email address that way. He never replied, but has there been any instance where you thought no way is this going to happen, and then it did? Besides the first one?
The Chris Franz one, I would say, was like, here's a long shot. Greg Bissonette was a really big deal for me. Because he's so humble, you know, he shows up, he's going to another gig. So most of the time, hey, can you spend me 5 or 10 minutes? And I want to, you know, shower you with love and talk about this stuff. And they'll give me an hour most of the time. He was literally getting ready for a gig, and he was on his drum kit in his rehearsal space, and he had 20 minutes. So I was like, yeah, no problem. And he's like, actually, he's playing. He's like ready. Ask me something. I'm ready to. I was like, okay. You know, and I'm talking about, hey, I got this ankle thing. Do you know how I can make my foot faster? But I was going through, you know, his life story and stuff like that. I was trying to make it as condensed as I could. That was a huge one because, you know, I grew up on New Wave in Orange County, K-Rock, 106.7, but you go through stages, and once out of that, once I discovered a double bass pedal, you know, and I discovered, first it was Livewire, Motley Crue, and then, David Lee Roth first 2 records, you know, all the Van Halen stuff, trying to figure it out mechanically. I never took a lesson. I'm just self-taught, just listening to stuff. So it's like Greg was just like gigantic. And he's still, and I'm so proud, like, I'm so glad he got like the dream gig of all dream gigs. This is the dream gig he wanted, you know, as a kid. He's playing in Ringo's band, you know, so it's like, and he's clean, and he was talking about, you know, how to stay off the drugs and a healthy lifestyle, and totally legitimate dude. So anything good that comes his way, I'm like, I'm all about it, you know. Yeah. Just going through here a little bit. Yeah, Liberty from the Billy Joel band.
Oh yeah.
That was gigantic for me because I'm very sentimental, and all my music memories are attached to certain parts of my life, good or bad, you know. And I was a huge Billy Joel fan, but he had such a certain emotional style to his playing, and he was self-taught too. But that one took a while, you know. It took check back with me in a month, check back with me in a month, check back with me in a month, and then I finally got him on, and he was very personable and very open, and we'll talk about anything, you know. And he was talking about his divorces and drug stuff, and it was like, this is amazing, you know. I can't believe I'm doing it. I'm nobody, you know. I'm up here in the Seattle mountains. I'm nobody. Like, why would you do this? So
because you asked him for every month for 8 months.
He said, where do I set it? Do you have the routing number for the payment plan? And I was like, all right. But you know, you gain momentum when you get some people together and they know you're not a weirdo. You gain momentum.
Yeah. So here's the other thing I know about you. You're not just a great drummer. You are a great songwriter. You can play, as far as I know, I don't know if you can play keys or not. I see one over there.
Teach keys. Teach a little key.
I imagine that if you've got one there, you can do it pretty well, because that's how you don't really half-ass anything. Drums was your first instrument?
Yeah. So I got a snare drum. I told this story a couple times on the drum recovery thing. I didn't know my grandfather. He was a cop in Chicago, and he visited. He showed up one year when I was 10, and he bought me a snare drum. I think I have one of these around here. It was a Premier steel snare. Dropped it off and signed me up for a couple lessons, and I hated it. But I was able to hang out with him and spend some time, and he like took me around the world for 2 weeks. And
What?
Then he disappeared. Then he disappeared forever.
He took you around the world for 2 weeks?
Yeah, we just flew all over the place. You know, we to like Ancestry and
Wow.
his vacation, and yeah, it was a whirlwind.
And then
but,
he disappeared?
Disappeared.
Did anyone ever hear from him?
Yeah, he's based in Chicago.
Yeah.
And he passed away. I found out passed away in like 2005 or 2006. Anywho, but I didn't want to take any. I gave up the drums. I tried it, and so junior high, I saw a band play Wipeout in the quad at lunch. You know, and there's this killer drummer, Jason Sitnick, who went on to be one of the lead magicians at the Magic Castle in Hollywood. Once he gave up the drums.
Nice.
But at the time, he was an amazing drummer. It was down in Orange County, and I just remember the feeling of all the kids going back to the class after lunch, and just like everyone was electric. They're just buzzing. Oh my God, did you see what just happened? And I was like, somehow I have to learn to do that. So from that point on, I went to the swap meet. I got a couple drums together, set them up, and there was a lot of flexibility in the house at that point through, divorce stuff, and it was chaotic, and I could make a lot of noise, and I had a lot of freedom, and I was able to go to rock shows and listen to new wave chicks sing about sex and dress in leather, and there was just a lot of flexibility to make up for other things that were going on in the house.
Right.
And but I was listening to a ton of K-rock. I taught myself on vinyl, and even memorizing the skips as like fills. I have to run over to the record player. But then, I discovered Missing Persons, the first 2 or 3 records. Discovered Exit Stage Left through a manager. I was working at a Wiener Schnitzel illegally because I was too young. And we would have wars over who was a better drummer, Neil Peart or Terry Bozzio. And so we'd blast these 2 bands, like cleaning up at Wiener Schnitzel every night. But yeah, just, I lived in a surfing town. I wasn't blonde, blue-eyed. I didn't have any girlfriends. I was chubby. I spent a lot of time at home alone on the drum kit every day. And I just remember coming back the next year as a freshman in high school, and like I had a couple of their drummer friends, and there was like, oh my God, what happened? You make me want to quit. And I started playing with older dudes, seniors, and then dudes in their 20s or whatever. And I started gigging right away in clubs. And you know that thing when you probably played when you were younger, where you'd have to wait outside the club until it was time to play, go in and play, and then leave again because you weren't legally.
I hear that story a lot, but I never had that experience.
Oh, really?
No, I mean, I played at parties and a little bit,
Yeah.
but then I didn't play a gig until I was 21 in Seattle.
Wow.
When you say you came back your freshman year?
So I was in 14, and I was in a band that opened up for remember that band Wall of Voodoo?
Yeah.
I'm on a Mexican. We opened up for them in Huntington Beach. Nice. I was 14.
When you say you came back for your freshman year and you were playing with seniors, did you come back after you had done a bunch of woodshedding, or did your sort of explosion of musical growth happen because of playing with older, more experienced people?
No, I was already ready.
Yeah.
Seniors were seeking me out. I had people from seniors from other high schools come over. And they were like, we hear there's this dude. We hear there's this 14-year-old over here who knows how to play Neil Peart solos or whatever. So I was being like recruited by other people around the area, not just my school.
Right.
I would try to play every single gig, every single dance, because I hated to dance. I wanted to play. I just wanted to play all the time, and not everyone played, and it was so hard to find dudes in my area who wanted to jam. I just wanted to jam, you know. Even if it was for an hour or 2 hours, you know, I'd go around the neighborhood or call people up. It's like, hey, you don't know me. I think you're a junior or whatever. Do you play guitar? Like, you want to jam this weekend or something? So yeah, it was pulling teeth, you know. So it was like that's how hungry I was to.
When you made the
then,
jump from playing along to records, because this is an interesting thing. Like for a guitar player, it's not, I don't think it's as much of a stretch to jump from playing along to a record to playing with a band, because you're not really keeping the tempo unless there's a musical break. Like for a drummer has a whole other set of responsibilities. And when you go from using the meter and like the tempo of a recording to being the timekeeping driver, it's a big move. Was there
very emotional player? That's my style. So I've always been a pusher.
Right.
I remember this drum movie that came out a few years ago, Side Stick or Swing Stick or Sidekick or something like that. And the main scene was like, "Are you a dragger or a pusher?" And I was thinking like, I'm a pusher and I make a living off of it. You know, like what does that even matter? You know. But even when the '80s records that I was listening to, it's like "I'll Stop the World and Melt with You" or something like that. That's not on a click. That stuff's all over the place.
Right.
You know, Green Day, that's all over the place. The Zeppelin, that's all over the place. Like, it's cool. I definitely would not have been doing studio gigs that young because I was just too excited. Right. I hit too hard and I played too fast. That's the bottom line.
Take off.
Yeah, that had to be learned. Had to be tamed.
It's crazy how much stuff is recorded and done on a grid now. And when people talk about music in general, modern music, contemporary music, and they, you know, the group of folks that say, "Oh, it's not as good as it used to be," or this and that, it's hard to imagine that that's not at least a huge part of it. That it's a bit more mechanized because there's so much grid dependency, right?
I think a lot of producers are grid dependent too, because I've been on a few major label bands or whatever, and I've seen the producer's style, you know, how they want to sound, how they want the music to flow. Extreme opposite, you know. I've been on the totally indie side, and I've been on the total major side, and you know, being on the grid. And then on the major side, not only do you buy in the grid, they have grid specialist editors, you know, who just specialize in really getting in there, sound replacing and stuff like that, you know. So I can see both of it. I would have to, like, if I was a producer, I've produced some bands through the years and engineered, you know, I would have to listen to the band first and see, like, feel the energy of the band and what they were doing before I, like, made a decision or made a mix of, like, maybe this song, you know, needs to be locked up a little bit more, or maybe we just need more of a live vibe, whatnot. But for the most part, yeah, everything's on a grid and it sucks.
Right. Well, yeah, because there's a component of the emotional experience of music that is removed, right? As soon as you're conscious of the click and the tempo, you know, that is your emotional true north. Like that's where you have to stay. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes it'll be tempo mapped, like, all right, well, the chorus comes in here at bar 48. We'll just bump it up to 3 beats a minute, right? And it's like, does that really do it? I don't know. because at that point you're not reacting to the singer. You're not reacting to the way the riff breathes. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And sometimes to compensate for that, you have to, well, in this section, we're going to turn the click off and then we're going to turn it back on. Or as a drummer, I've been in a situation before where you're going to have to compensate yourself in between the clicks. You're going to have to do some sort of natural pullback and,
Right.
and natural speed up, to make it work, in a digitized fashion, which seldom works out. I've heard some, even though some records sound like really good, I'm like, I hear all the crap. I hear the mistakes. I hear what sounds like garbage that everyone else is like, oh yeah, man, rocking.
What year did you end up moving to Seattle?
95, 96. And
So,
yeah.
so you're in California the whole time?
Yeah. Went to I went to after high school I went to MI or PIT for 3 weeks.
You did. I never knew this.
Yeah. And I still kept the shirt just because it's so funny. I went there for 3 weeks and I hated it.
What year was it?
Oh God, like 90, 91 or something like that.
I did not fucking know this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's better. I mean, I didn't graduate or get any accolades. The thing is, I was super lonely. I hated living on Sunset or on Cherokee. I got held up by knife point at a 7-Eleven walking home more than once. I wasn't making any friends. I was still super into football. Like, I was a really big dude. I played outside linebacker in college before I fully committed to music. So I was still on the football music thing. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And they had these things called live credits, where in a span of a year, you have to accrue this many live credits in order to graduate. And in the span of 3 weeks, I got a full year's worth of live credits because all I did is jump into other people's classes. Because
Right.
all I wanted to do was be on stage and rock. I hated the private instruction. I didn't want to hang out in the cafeteria. I didn't like walking to and from the apartment. So I did. I got the full amount of live credits. I had fun doing that and met a couple people, and then went back and played another full year of football, gained some weight, and then went to Loyola Marymount to get an audio engineering degree for a couple of years, which is now totally obsolete because we were on a Trident board with 2-inch.
Right.
But what I did is like.
Wait a minute. You don't have that?
I'm really into aligning the tape machines, really into azimuth and zenith and spending a lot of time on that myself for demos. But while I was there, I did get to record, at least assist on Weezer, right when they were kind of launching. That was one of their spots. I think it was on their DGC Rarities record. They stopped by. I did a recording there, but I still have the input list for that.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Yeah. It actually, I pulled it out of storage the other day, and it got rained on. It should be in a frame or something. Yeah, this is the input list for. My name is Jonas and Jamie. Recorded at Loyola Marymount. You can't.
Wow.
You can see how it's rained on. In my wall of fame, I got to put it up pretty soon. But after that, yeah. So I didn't even go to my graduation. My car was packed. Didn't even go to my graduation. Drove up to Whitefish, Montana to fish for like 3 months.
You just went fishing for 3 months.
Yeah, I wanted to get out of LA.
Did you have a tent or did you have friends up there?
Just got a little apartment. I got a little bit of money from my uncle, who was a big real estate guy down in Orange County, and he's a really loving guy and supportive. And he knew I was a kind of a music guy, and he knew I wasn't going to be in the family real estate business.
Right.
So he's like, here's a little something. Good luck to you, and see you at Christmas or whatever.
Right.
So I did that, but on the way through, I went through Seattle, and I was like, wow, this is a cool spot. I've never been to Seattle before. Moved back to Seattle. I just got an apartment. I didn't know anyone. Applied to a bunch of audio engineering jobs. And what I ended up doing was cleaning houses
Right.
for whatever, 3
Probably
months.
better money. And then an audio engineering gig.
It did at the time, but I finally got hired at this place up on 12th in Capitol Hill, Emerald City Productions it was called, and we basically just did corporate ads.
Yeah.
And it was right, the liquor store on 12th by the police station.
Yeah.
Inside that building, there was a recording studio.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah, isolation booth was a bank vault. You had to close it and like turn the.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but when we were recording, I'd be recording voiceover with these A-list voiceover people, and during the day, and I'd hear this bang against the back wall.
Oh wait a minute!
Every hour.
Next door to the cop shop.
Yeah. Well, it's police stop. It's police station. Then across
like a block
the street,
north.
it's a liquor store.
Right.
And the liquor store is in a building with other businesses.
Yeah. There was another studio right next to the cop shop that one of the guys from Sky Cries Mary ran.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple hidden spots up there.
Yeah.
But they'd be loading the liquor in, just slamming the walls during the day.
Right.
And I'd have to be like, take 2, let's try that again. But it was great learning. I wasn't cleaning houses anymore. I was actually audio engineering, and then I put out an ad in the Rocket for drummer stuff, just because I didn't know anyone. I had 0 friends. I didn't know anyone in Seattle when I moved there.
Right.
So I joined like 6 bands like within a couple weeks. So many different styles and so just ridiculous stuff. I was driving all over the place, like discovering the Seattle area. Like, I don't even know where I'm going. Sammamish, what's that? Woodinville, where am I now? West Seattle. Just wanted to play. And one of them eventually got signed. That was Muzzle. And we actually recorded our first demo in that bank vault after hours.
Right.
Which kind of, with that and Marco Collins from the End hearing that, he kind of championed that and did his thing.
Right.
On the end.
And that's a relationship that's still strong with you.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I owe a lot to Marco. He's a good friend, and he's put up a lot with me over the years. And he's a really cool dude. A lot of history, and it's so many cool memories about those early years back when there was a music business and there was labels and there was artist development departments and stuff like that. But I just remember going to work and then getting a call from our manager, who was basically on our same level. He wasn't really a manager, but he's like, "You got to go down to the Weathered Wall and you're opening up for this chick. You got to go down there right now. You got to quit. Got to get off work. So we rushed down there, and it's like packed. It's like, and Muzzle started out without a bass player. We were a 3-piece, and we toured as a 3-piece for a really long time, even up until we got signed to Reprise.
2 guitars and drums, and that's it.
That's it. We just EQ'd Wes's guitar down a bit. And it worked. I loved it. It was very indie. It was very kind of more Jawbox-ish,
right.
Rather than Posies-ish.
Right.
But it's like, okay, who's this? Alanis Morissette? Who's this? I don't even know. And they wouldn't move their shit, so we had to line up in a straight line.
Was Eric Avery playing bass for her?
Well, I know Taylor was on drums. Maybe Eric was there. Taylor was definitely on drums, because we were talking back. He was like whacking on my drums after we played, after we hauled all our shit off the stage. That's how when I saw that Monkey Wrench video, I was like, I know that guy. But stuff like that, and like Face to Face, and Catherine Wheel, and we were like, and Betty Severe and Bush or whatever. We were starting to get like these out of like rapid fire. We're starting to open up for these bands. Like, something's happening. Like, something is cool, I guess. And that was fun. Ryan was a shredding, like Jay Mascis-ish, loud bass man. And Wes's voice was like super unique, and his songwriting and stuff like that. And I was just like, our first jam. You know what it is when you get in a room and like it's right. And, like, people start just like chuckling. They start laughing. Like, wow, this feels really good, or this is something cool. You just start laughing. I talked to Martin, the Pretenders, about that. He said the same thing happened. Like, Chrissy Hine like looked toward the wall and she started laughing. once they had the right lineup together.
Right.
So that's, we did that for a while, and I have like a ton of really cool experiences about that. And didn't end so well, but what it did after it didn't end so well, I think it did get Jeff Redding a drum endorsement. So.
Yeah.
I moved to LA after that. But yeah, he brought that up a few years back at someone's birthday party when I met Redding for the first time. He's like, "Yeah, thanks for those drums, dude."
So after when the muzzle thing ended, you moved back to LA.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of these things where, okay, first it was fuck everything, I'm going to do this anyway. So I made this demo called Chris, and I recorded like 5 songs, and I recorded it all myself with a friend of mine named Kip Bielman down in Elliott Bay. He had a studio, like an industrial studio there. And I went in there for a week. I recorded this demo. It's like, wow, man, this is really cool stuff. Can I play bass for you? Or,
when did you pick up the guitar through all this? Like, at what point in your timeline did you start playing guitar?
Around the same time I was learning the drums. My sister was a singer and a dancer, and she had an acoustic guitar in her room, which was strung way too tight. Like, she didn't know how to set it up or play or anything. But there's 2 things. I'd have to sneak into her room to teach myself U2 songs before she got home.
Right.
And then there was another room in the house which no one was allowed to go into, which was just for parties and fancy things. And there was a player piano in there. And I would sneak in there to learn U2 songs on the piano. But the problem was I did it so much, I started to break it. I started to break the keys. And that didn't turn out too well. But I was kind of like doing everything at the same time, as well as going to Guitar Center and getting a Tascam 4-track, trying to learn how to do that stuff. It was all kind of happening at the same time. Trying to learn how to make songs and sound like a band. And I did the same thing in college. Everyone went out. They were supposed to find a band around LA and bring them in and record them for their project. I never did. I just recorded all the parts myself. And the teacher's like, sounds great.
What's the name of the band?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was like, I wanted to do movie soundtracks. So I was like, I'm going to prove that I can do all the instruments myself and compose for movies. And that's always been a huge dream of mine, And so since then, like, I've done a few corporate, things, scoring commercials and animated stuff and stuff like that. And that's always really fun because I don't have to deal with anyone else.
Doing a movie would be amazing.
I know. Yeah. Even some of the old Priss stuff, like I sketched it out as this is a movie piece. It's just instrumental. It's just drums with a bunch of electronics, and I think the Priss stuff was not so much like here's a band that's going to get signed that sounds like this. It was more like here's my whole deal. Here's what I have to offer. Here's movie soundtrack stuff. Here's weird 1-second commercial bumpers. Here's pop songs. I didn't really know how to organize it. It
was like your calling card.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So when you get down to LA with this Priss recording, what happens? What do you do?
Yeah. So.
And what year is it at this point? 98?
98. Before I left LA, Marco put it on the air right away. So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't know that. Okay, he's into it. And then I just needed greener grass. So I went down to LA and I grabbed a couple old school buddies. And I tried to put a band together down there, and it came together pretty quickly, but no one could really play. And especially like if you're pretending to be a lead singer and you're pretending to be the lead guy, but you're really a drummer, it's so difficult to have confidence in leaning into the song because it's always wrong. It's always dragging or, oh, like I really needed that cue or I really needed that accent. So anyone who's ever dealt with me in whatever version of Priss they've been in, I'm sure it's been an uphill battle, but I'm always thankful for people who have tried,
What's like having you have 2 drummers in the band?
Yeah. But we did do some cool stuff. that was more like a departure from like this music thing isn't going to happen for me anymore. I'm just going to try this thing. I had maybe one label person show up at a show at the garage in Hollywood or something like that, but I knew the band just wasn't good enough. So I came back to Seattle in 2000, 2001, and I started it up again with much better players. And at the same time, The Young and the Restless, 107.7, was pretty heavy around town.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to first hear about Vendetta Red. And because I was like, at that time, there was not a lot of heavy distortion bands on The Young and the Restless. It was very jangly. It was very clean. It was very wordy.
Indie rock.
And I just I was all DS1 in your ears, DS1 in your ears, fast drums. And then I hear this Vendetta Red band, and he's just like screaming his lungs out and this weird stuff. And I was like, we have to play shows together right now. And so they're like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And we exchanged songs, and we ended up, I remember Sit and Spin was our first show together. But we played a few shows together. And then I talked to a couple of the members, maybe a third or fourth show together. And they're like, yeah, we're going out on tour. And Joseph, the drummer, just had a kid. He can't make it. I hear you play drums or whatever. So I started filling in. Before they got signed to Sony, I started filling in because Joseph couldn't leave town because of his kid.
Right.
So it was back and forth. It was like I would tour, and then he could play the shows in town, and I would tour, and then he'd play the shows in town, and then they got signed, and then Pris was taking off in my head, doing cool stuff. And then I was getting
Who's in
involved.
Pris at this time? Who are the members of Pris?
So probably the high point was, I don't want to leave anyone out. Actually, we went one of the tours with me, Hawk, Jason Lackey, and Jeff Rozier. After I left the second incarnation of Muzzle, which was called the Dirty Bomb, in the middle of a tour, I had to fly and meet up with Vendetta Red. Jeff Rozier had to finish up the Muzzle tour. They eventually came the Young Sportsmen.
Right.
And then there's a band called Common Heroes, Ira Merrill and Leif Anderson, Steve Gale. They played a lot of really important kind of label-y shows for me because they were already a unit, and I just got in front of that unit and they learned the songs.
Right.
And they did a great job. So
Leif's a good kid.
Yeah, I just saw him a couple weeks ago, right before the New Year's. He was up here in the Northwest for a little bit. I miss him. He brings up the old stories, and he brings up more stories that I forget.
He told me a great story about you. On when Vendetta Red was, because you both ended up in Vendetta Red,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he said, I want to say it was a Warped Tour show,
Mm-hmm.
and something like you broke all your drumsticks, maybe. Like you were down to one drumstick somehow, and you had asked a band that was playing like either before or after you, the drummer, if you could get a stick, and he was like, no, bro. Fuck you. And you proceeded, and he watched you play, and when you finally broke your last stick, you were like, played the hi-hat with your hand until it was a bloody mess. Is this a true story?
Yeah, I probably more than once. I will say most of the time people are cool.
Yeah.
But in the heat of the moment, when you're playing those songs, you're more like in kill mode.
Right.
And not just kill you, but kill me too.
Yeah, just kill.
Kill. It takes me so long, not just Vendetta Red song, even Loaded shows, it takes me so long to chill out. So not only, but before the show too, it's like, where's Burke? Where's Burke? It takes me a while to like get in the right mindset, especially after shows though. I need a real chill out time. So I'll go out, I'll literally play a Loaded show and just go running like in some strange town in Germany or whatever. Like
No, there's legend. I mean, there are stories from that we still tell, like the bus. We wake up in the morning, we have coffee. Burke just quietly disappears, and then it's gig time, and we're like, "Where's Burke?" But then it's almost like you say it. If you say it 3 times, which is how many there are 3 of us, it's like Beetlejuice. If it gets said 3 times, all of a sudden Burke magically appears quietly, and you just look down and he's like stretching behind you, like as if he had been there the whole time, and his cloak of invisibility just came off. And you'd be like, "Where the fuck were you all day?" "Oh, I ran over there. You see that peak over there? I ran over there and I found there's an American sports bar over there that was playing the Raiders game."
Yeah, I hate to stress people out, but I think once
After a while,
people get into the rhythm of it,
we never got stressed. After a while, we were like, "Well, he's not unreliable. He'll be here." You just have that confidence, and if you have that confidence, then you don't get stressed out. But
you're hardwired.
Well, yeah, it's just like, well, he's gonna be. He knows what time it is. He'll be here, unless he got abducted by drug lords.
Oh man, Survivor. There's been some weird runs though on some tours where like this was a mistake.
Right.
I always wanted to write a coffee table book in the preloaded days about all the weird places that I ran in middle America, across train tracks in Arkansas at like 1 a.m, or just weird crap.
So that's a constant that has been. Or you're not running now, are you?
I really miss it. No, I'm limping and walking and drumming and swimming.
Yeah.
Swimming, yeah. I miss it when that's the one thing, because I can't get, no matter whatever kind of exercise I do, I can't get that endorphin rush that I get from running. It's definitely an addiction, because I can write so many songs without an instrument, just running.
Right.
So I'll write songs in my head and then put them in my phone when I get back. And that's just kind of been missing. So, just trying to figure out different methods and get better.
Do you have cardio gear at home? This might be hard to believe, but I used to love to run. And then I had a spiral fracture on my left leg. My left leg was off, essentially, held on by skin.
I remember your stories about you wheelchairing up the top of Mount Tabor in Portland, right, after your injury.
It was great. That was the best exercise I ever got. It was incredible. It was incredible exercise.
You just get the 22-inch pythons.
I was pretty stacked. It was great. I got to get back in action. And I've been thinking about this. Tell me what your opinion is. Because I have a small room here.
Yeah.
Thinking at first I was like, well, I can't run because I just can't. I do love to bike, but that's a big piece of kit, right? Maybe I could I'll get a road bike and a trainer. That way, when the weather is nice, I can actually put in miles, and it's not a stationary bike. I just put my trainer away. I'm thinking rower.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, into it. That can get both sides.
Do you have an opinion? You like it?
I do. I'm not opposed to it at all. If I had a rower, I'd use it. I've got the the stationary bike and these weird things like exercise bands, hip circles, and
right,
isometric type of stuff. But yeah, rower for sure. I would do that at the gym when the gym's open.
Do you see an end to having a limp when you walk, or is this something that you think that'll be with you?
I don't know, because I'm still taking, like, I just ordered new medications, new nerve strengthening medications. This therapy called Synexus, with electricity, and I wake up every day thinking that there is an end, like there is a point where, okay, here we are. I know what the doctors said in the beginning, and I know what the doctors said 3 months ago, and but I also know that I'm not normal. I'm not sedentary, and I'm not like the average. The average number that says you're gonna just be like this forever, you know. So I'm
Right.
like tackling it every day, and I'm obsessed by it every day. So my mindset is, I would never think that I'm done.
Right.
And then someone else, you know, who's really smart would say, "Come on, bro, like you got to start reading some positive audiobooks or something." But, no, while I'm on a bike, yeah, I'll get around to that.
One thing I know is that when I got into the wheelchair and I was pushing myself up the mountain, that was when I'm faced with things that are extreme, right? That's when I definitely throw my guard, like throw my dukes up, and I'm like, okay, fuck you, you know, let's go.
Yeah,
When everything's easy, it's easy to let your, at least for me, it's when everything's easy and there's no hardship, there's no struggle. It's very easy for me to let my guard down and just get lazy.
yeah,
But when there's challenges, I will be like, nah, this isn't going to be what kicks my ass. So I ate extremely clean
Hmm.
and exercised constantly. I got off my pain meds after 2 or 3 days. 2 or 3 days out of the hospital. And that's 3 days after bone surgery. Like they drilled, fucking put bolts into my leg.
Yep.
And so I'm off the pain meds and I'm in a lot of pain, which sucked, but I could take a crap again, which was great. And whenever the pain, I mean, I was literally actually in tears, from the pain. But when that would happen, I would distract myself. It'd be like every time it hurts and I feel like it's too much, I'm going to do 50 push-ups.
Hmm.
I would fucking end up doing 500 to 700 push-ups a day. Or I would be like, all right, I'm going to elevate my leg and like I smoked a bunch of, I don't do anything anymore. I'm a fucking goody two shoes, but I smoked weed, and that was the one sort of thing that I afforded myself at that time to help me get through that. And when I went back to the doctor was like, what are you doing? Because your bone is healing really quickly.
Hmm.
I was like, well, I'm not
Mind bullets.
taking your fucking drugs for one, because they're bullshit.
Takes so long to get that stuff out of your system too.
It's terrible. And it's I don't know that many people who have not sustained some sort of injury in their lives where they were prescribed fucking drugs from Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah. I'm not taking anything anymore. You know, they gave me everything under the sun initially.
I'll bet they did.
Now it's just like, you know, vitamins, fish oil, and turmeric, and magnesium, the wonder vitamin, which I discovered in Soundwave. I will never stop taking that stuff.
I'm going to start taking that. What's that good for?
So I was cramping up in Soundwave, like in the middle of shows where I couldn't move my fingers.
Yeah.
And remember we had that massage team. They said start taking it overnight right now, and that cleared everything up. Never had a problem. It's hydration and muscle cramps. That's what I use it for, magnesium.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just over the counter stuff. Nothing special. No. Never stop.
What do you see yourself doing over the next? Are you writing music and recording at home right now? Like through this?
That's dropped off quite a bit. Really just, diving into, I mean, that's where a lot of the running came in. I'm just diving into teaching and planting vegetables. And
I saw your video today.
it's getting there. I do want to write more. I do. So, unfortunately, like just mechanically, just can't. Some of the stuff is more difficult. So that's always like smack in the face, you know, every time you sit down that you have a sound in your head and you have a certain chord in your head and you're like, okay, like we need to work around it differently.
Right.
But yeah, it's not so much music, unless I have to research for a guest, and then it reintroduces me to like, oh yeah, okay, that's why I'm doing this. I fucking love this shit. That's why I love music. Otherwise, it's like a bunch of sports talk guys yelling at each other, you know, just noise, 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 noise. Yeah.
But you're playing drums and
Yeah.
you're getting some therapy that way, even if it's not physical.
Full body therapy, and it's trying to play in different ways. Single kick, double kick, whatever I can, setting my kit up differently. So it's like my left side, I went to this specialist ex-military doctor in Kent last year before I went down to LA, and he thinks I still have somewhat of a concussion because my left side is a little bit slower. But my left side and my right leg are the weakest parts. So I've just really been concentrating on. It's a balance issue, basically. I'm out of balance. Everything's fucked up. No balance is out. So, you know, whether it becomes orthotics in the shoes or getting stronger, like I really need to hit the weight room. And my diet needs to get better for sure. That's early on when I was seeing the spine specialist early on last year. They're like, stop drinking because it's killing your axons, you know, the nerve healing shit. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's like, no, it really does.
Right.
It messes with my playing, so clear that stuff up.
Before we got on our call just now, well, an hour and a half ago, I looked back through my email because I wanted to see when you delivered the drum tracks for somebody's baby.
Yeah.
Do you know when it was? It was fucking July 23rd.
Guessing it was around July. Yeah.
It was July, man. And that's crazy. That's crazy because it just came out this last week. It'll be last week when this episode goes live, but it was this week as we speak.
You did a great job. Everyone in that band's hired, by the way. You're all hired.
Yeah. It was super. I mean, all the videos are super fun to put together. I'd love to have you in another one. Yeah, they're a ton of fun to make. I mean, for me, it's just like I get to play with all kinds of people that when else would I ever play with them or do a project with them?
Yeah. And you're getting so good, you know, the whole look, the whole brand, the editing, it's just very smooth now. People know what to count on. People know what to count on, the quality of it, you know.
All 12 people.
Very cool.
No. Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks. I mean, it's all accidental. I didn't know, you know, I had to teach. I go about doing it in a very unorthodox fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an unconventional editing style.
Do you always slap your part on last?
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost always.
Yeah.
Almost always. In the case of our video, it went you, and then there was a long stretch where I couldn't get anything to happen.
Yeah. I remember some other players who were supposed to be.
It was really, there was a lot of like, and this has happened with a couple things. Actually, the same week that we started, I started a video with Tony Reed. Do you know Tony?
Yeah, not personally, but yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Tony. You know, if I could ever be in Moss Generator, that would be a fucking fantasy. I don't know what he's like to work with, you know, musically, but his music I love. And he's always been very cool to me. So I don't know, but you know how that goes. As soon as you work for someone, all bets are off. So we started one, and that one, this week I called it off. and he and I are just going to reboot it and do all the parts ourselves.
Cool.
Without just like the two of us, because he could
He's a
do everything. Yeah, he could do everything
he's a
himself.
guy.
But yeah, I think now I finally hit my pace. You know, it was really frustrating, and I was coming through a time where I was working a lot when we did that. So, but it felt really great to finally put this video out, because as we just stated, you know, it got kicked off in July, in case anyone's wondering, how long does it take to make one of these videos?
Yeah.
It takes for fucking ever sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. The guest thing. It is a labor of love. You gotta be committed. You gotta be patient. Gotta have energy. Don't give up.
Is Liberty the longest you kept after someone that followed through?
Oh no, there's someone still.
You don't have to name them, but
still in the queue. There's someone still in the queue. I'm batting around a little bit. There was two gigantic ones who got all the way up to the finish line, and then it just kind of went away.
Fell through.
But you know,
yeah,
I'm still very appreciative of what's happened up to this point.
Yeah,
is there any one of your guests that you thought would, like, as far as views, that you thought would just be like exploding, and it turned out it was like, wow, I'm surprised it didn't take off more? I mean, I guess you don't have to name names, but
I mean, the thing is I almost always, at least I used to always think that things were going to do a lot better than they did. And I don't know if that's foolish confidence or if that's just me measuring the value of the content by my emotional attachment to my guest's music, or what, or if it's just me naively not understanding the backside of, you know, this world, like how to manipulate, how to game the system so that you get more visibility. You know, I don't understand that shit. I'm just some dude with a microphone and the foolish confidence to reach out and ask.
I mean, one of my favorite drummers of all time, Jerry Gaskill, King's X. Like,
oh, dude,
I never thought I've had all these monumental, you know, Grammy award-winning, platinum drumming dudes, and this guy is like blowing everyone away as far as views. Like, some of the crowds are like crazy. Like, you wouldn't. I'm sure you get comments, or you come across crowds of certain bands, like the crazy crowd, we'll call it, who have you ever like been critiqued, or has people been critical of your interview?
Are you kidding me? Dude, look, man, I mean, there's always someone that, you know, your guest is their favorite artist. Yeah. And I take that into consideration. And like, I don't take any comments personally. Even when someone drops a shitty comment on one of my videos, I'm like, thanks for watching.
Yep.
You know,
that's all you can do.
Thanks for watching. Have a great day. But the thing is like, a lot of my guests, not only have I never talked to, I don't really know that much about them. And I don't want to do a bunch of research, because I want to ask questions just like we're meeting at a party. That's what I want it to be like. I don't want to be like, well, I read on your Wikipedia page that you know, like fucking green M&Ms on your rider. Can you tell me a story about that? Fuck that. Yeah. That's what the guy at the radio station will ask him about, the shock jock or whatever. Who cares? Right? So I caught a pretty funny comment not that long ago about someone like critiqued me saying, you know, your intro went on way too long. This guy doesn't require an introduction, you know, certainly not from you. And I was just like,
certainly not from you.
Well, you know what? Fuck you too. Guess what? My sister doesn't know who this person is, and neither does anyone under 40. And I'm a fan. Like, you know, and super nice dude, super talented, storied career. But look, that doesn't mean that everyone requires an introduction. You know who doesn't require an introduction? Like Paul McCartney,
Yeah.
Eric Clapton. You know, if I ever had Slash on, I would fucking intro him.
Of course.
The same as I do everyone else. And I would say, don't forget to hit my Patreon. I'd probably say it more times before his, you know.
I've gotten one that was like, he's really shy and he's really an introvert, but he should have done most of the talking. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And let me tell you, the Goo Goo Dolls fans, they are very protective.
Is that right?
Do not touch the Goo Goo Dolls stuff. Watch out.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's funny. And like it's just what I didn't realize is when you do stuff like this, you just end up putting a target on yourself. And once you know that you have a target on yourself, you have to just be like, you know, what other people think of me is none of my business.
Yeah. Just be yourself. That's your niche. It's a Squires niche. My niche is I have a problem completing sentences, but I know kind of what I'm talking about as far as why I love the dudes that I talk to, and that should go far enough.
I don't really love to finish a sentence either. I like to split in the middle of a sentence into 3 different sentences.
I live in ellipsis.
You know, that wraps up like 3 paragraphs into one broken fragmented sentence. That's my world. That's where I dwell.
Hey, you'd be a perfect troll. Come on to my Raiders sites that
Burke, I gotta go walk my dogs, man. I'm so happy to have you as a guest. I'm so happy to talk to you. I'm so happy to see your face. Yeah. I'm so happy to see you smile. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so glad we did this because now I get to shave this fucking end of times mustache off. I told you I was going to hold out.
I wish I would have grown a mustache. I didn't know. I just didn't know. I didn't know it was mustache month.
Yeah. Mustachuary.
Next time.
I do it to crack myself up because it's stupid, but I thought it would be perfect with the chicken hat.
One thing I'm also happy about is that I get to put the hashtag on this episode, Drummer Awareness, because last, I think May, I had Drummer Awareness Month, and whenever I have a drummer on the podcast, Drummer Awareness. Because it's important.
Yeah, I love it. That the other part about the Schroeder interview is that, you know, the band with the good drummer band with the bad drummer thing. I think that's super true. As being in front of a band, yeah, you totally realize that.
Yeah, and every drummer thinks they're great. That's the thing about drummers, just like every guitar player, right?
You have to. You got to have that.
The problem is that you can be a not fantastic guitar player and it won't necessarily shine a light on your band like, oh, that guitar player sucked and the band sucks. But if a drummer sucks, it's fucking game over. Your band sucks. If your drummer is killer and your singer has at least charisma, then you've got something. Everything
We've all seen
else.
Those bands.
What's that?
We've all seen those bands.
Fuck off. Most of the Sub Pop bands.
Seen some at the Showbox.
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah. A lot of my favorite bands. You know, that's just it. But you know,
do me a favor and edit this down, and then do any filters with the ugliness and all that crap. I know you're a pro at that. You'll take care of it.
I'm not fucking doing any dumb shit. But I just want to say that it was always an absolute pleasure to play in front of you.
Oh, thanks, man.
And there's a lot of comfort in going on stage with someone and having 110% confidence, you know. You don't have to have 110 confidence in anyone else, really.
Yeah. I've never, yeah, even if my wrist straps are tangling my hands up in Brazil, it's still 100% confidence. No, I've never actually been in a band with like less stress or less like drama on the road just than the Loaded thing. So it's always very easy, which was really unique once I started playing with you guys. So I was like, wow, this is easy. People are cool. Imagine that.
Imagine that. Go out, play music, have fun, not want to murder everyone else in the band, and come home and be able to pay rent.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty sweet deal.
So, and you guys set me up with a bunch of cool shit. So always indebted to the Loaded boys forever.
I mean, I didn't do anything for you, buddy.
I know it took a lot of footwork. Trust me, it took a lot of footwork.
Burke, I love you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. Happy New Year to you. Send my love to your lady.
I will. Well, thanks, dude. Love your lady and the dog.
I will do. Have a good night.
See ya.